20 black actors who ruined their careers in seconds. Hollywood loves to crown new stars, but it loves tearing them down even more. In an industry built on fame, power, and image, one wrong move can end everything. Some of the biggest black stars who once ruled the screen and the stage saw their empires crumble in the blink of an eye. From scandals that shocked the world to split-second mistakes that can never be undone, their downfalls remind us that fame isn't forever, it's borrowed time. At Hidden Black Legends, we're pulling back the curtain to expose the untold truth behind their sudden collapse. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change the way you see these stars forever. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join us as we reveal the shocking stories Hollywood tried to bury. Ja Rule. Ja Rule, born Jeffrey Atkins, once stood at the very top of hip-hop's mountain. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, his gritty voice and unforgettable hooks ruled the airwaves with hits like Always on Time and Live It Up. He sold millions of records, teamed up with icons like Jennifer Lopez and Ashanti, and even crossed into Hollywood with appearances in The Fast and the Furious, 2001, and Scary Movie 3, 2003. For a while, Ja Rule wasn't just successful. He was unstoppable, balancing fame, fortune, and film with ease. But everything changed in 2017. The rapper who once defined success became a punchline after co-founding the disastrous Fyre Festival, a so-called luxury music getaway that turned into one of the biggest scams in entertainment history. Marketed by supermodels and influencers, tickets cost thousands, promising VIP villas and gourmet meals. Instead, guests arrived to chaos, unfinished tents, rain-soaked mattresses, and cold cheese sandwiches. The festival collapsed in hours, leaving stranded attendees and a global media firestorm in its wake. While Ja Rule escaped criminal charges, his partner Billy McFarland went to prison, and the rapper's reputation took a massive hit. Social media tore him apart, and his once golden name became a symbol of failure and misplaced trust. Though Ja Rule continues to perform and release music, the shadow of Fyre Festival still haunts his legacy. His story is a modern parable, a reminder that even at the peak of fame, one bad decision can burn an empire to the ground. Michael Jace. Michael Jace was once one of Hollywood's most respected character actors, best known for his gripping portrayal of Officer Julian Lowe on The Shield from 2002 to 2008. His ability to bring quiet depth and emotional conflict to his roles earned him admiration from audiences and peers alike. Beyond television, he made his mark in films like Forrest Gump and Boogie Nights, proving himself a versatile and dependable supporting actor, the kind every great story needs. But in May 2014, that reputation was destroyed in a single, horrifying night. Jace was arrested for the murder of his wife, April Jace, inside their Los Angeles home. In a chilling twist, he was the one who called 911 to report the crime, calmly telling the dispatcher that he had shot her. Their two young children were inside the house when it happened. The news sent shockwaves through Hollywood, leaving fans and colleagues stunned. In 2016, Jace was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 40 years to life in prison. His downfall remains one of the darkest in Hollywood history. Not a story of addiction, scandal, or fading fame, but of a brutal act that destroyed a family and erased a career. Once admired for his craft, Michael Jace is now remembered only for the unforgivable tragedy that ended everything. His story stands as a haunting reminder of how a single moment of rage can forever eclipse a lifetime of achievement. Eddie Griffin. Eddie Griffin exploded onto the comedy scene in the 1990s with razor-sharp wit, fearless energy, and storytelling that made audiences laugh while challenging their perspectives. His breakout role in the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, 1996 to 2000, alongside Malcolm Jamal Warner, turned him into a household name. Griffin's transition to film came naturally, with standout performances in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, 1999, and Undercover Brother, 2002, proving he could bring his stand-up brilliance to the big screen. Known for his explosive stage presence and unapologetically raw humor, Griffin carved out a unique lane in comedy, one that blended social commentary with streetwise charisma. But behind the laughter, turbulence followed. Reports of erratic behavior, legal issues, and financial troubles began to overshadow his undeniable talent. Lawsuits over unpaid child support and struggling business ventures chipped away at the image of success he once embodied. Still, Griffin refused to fade quietly. Through live tours and stand-up specials, he fought to reclaim his voice, captivating loyal fans who admired his honesty and comedic genius. Yet Hollywood, with its short memory and high standards for marketability, wasn't as forgiving. His later years in the spotlight have become a study in contrast, flashes of brilliance clouded by personal missteps. Eddie Griffin's story is a powerful reminder that genius alone isn't enough to sustain a legacy. It takes discipline, humility, and focus to stay at the top. His journey remains a bittersweet reflection of how talent can make you a star, but choices determine how long you shine. Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr. burst onto the Hollywood scene in the early 1990s with his electrifying performance in John Singleton's Boys in the Hood, 1991. His charm, raw emotion, and undeniable charisma made him one of the most promising young actors of his generation. By 1996, he had reached the peak of his career with Jerry Maguire, earning an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor and immortalizing the line, "Show me the money." That moment wasn't just cinematic. It became part of pop culture history, symbolizing a future that seemed destined for greatness. But fame is fickle. Despite strong performances in films like Pearl Harbor, 2001, and Radio, 2003, critics began to question his choices. Many felt that Gooding's later roles failed to match the brilliance of his early work, as his career drifted toward low-budget comedies and direct-to-video releases. The man who once embodied Hollywood promise was now struggling to stay relevant. It's a haunting question every actor faces. What happens when the choices meant to keep your career alive end up slowly killing your legacy? Then came the scandal. In 2019, multiple women accused Gooding of sexual misconduct, leading to over 20 allegations. In 2022, he pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of forcibly touching a woman at a New York nightclub. Although he avoided prison, his reputation never recovered. Studios distanced themselves, red carpets grew cold, and the once bright star of Cuba, Gooding Jr., began to fade. Today, he remains a name etched in Hollywood's memory. Not as the triumphant Oscar winner shouting, "Show me the money," but as a cautionary tale of how quickly fame can crumble. His story is a reminder that in Hollywood, talent may open the door, but integrity keeps it open. Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker's rise was pure lightning in a bottle. With his rapid-fire delivery, infectious laugh, and larger-than-life energy, he became one of the most recognizable comedic voices of the 1990s. His breakout as Smokey in Friday, 1995, turned him into a cult icon, a role so funny and quotable it still defines pop culture decades later. But it was his explosive chemistry with Jackie Chan in Rush Hour, 1998, that made him an international superstar. The buddy cop blockbuster raked in over $240 million worldwide, and its sequels catapulted Tucker to unprecedented fame, earning him a record-breaking $25 million for Rush Hour 3, 2007, briefly making him Hollywood's highest-paid actor. But after reaching the top, Tucker did something almost no one expected. He stepped back. Determined to be selective about his projects, he turned down major roles that could have kept his momentum alive. Years passed without a major film, and fans began to wonder where he'd gone. Behind the scenes, Tucker was also battling financial troubles. In the 2010s, the IRS hit him with tax liens worth millions, adding strain to his already quiet career. Still, Tucker refused to fade away. His return to stand-up comedy reminded audiences why they fell in love with him. That same electricity, that same charm. His supporting role in Silver Linings Playbook, 2012, earned praise from critics who hoped it marked a new beginning. Yet despite flashes of brilliance, the full Hollywood spotlight never quite returned. Today, Chris Tucker remains a beloved figure, a symbol of what it means to shine bright, step away, and leave fans forever hoping for one more rush hour. Marcus T. Polk. Marcus T. Polk grew up under the spotlight, charming audiences across America as Miles Mitchell, the witty, mischievous younger brother on the hit sitcom Moesha, 1996 to 2001. Week after week, his playful energy and natural timing made him one of the show's most beloved faces. To millions, Polk symbolized youthful promise, a child star destined to evolve into a major Hollywood talent. After Moesha, he tried to expand his career, landing roles in films like Roll Bounce, 2005, and even competing on Dancing with the Stars, proving he had range far beyond sitcom comedy. But fame earned young doesn't always protect against the challenges of adulthood. In 2009, Polk's image took a hit when he was arrested for driving under the influence, a small crack that soon widened. By 2013, headlines turned darker after he was charged in a domestic violence case involving his then-girlfriend. The allegations not only damaged his personal reputation, but also cast a long shadow over his career. Seeking redemption, Polk spoke openly about his mistakes, joined rehabilitation and community programs, and expressed a genuine desire to grow. But in Hollywood, image is everything, and some stains don't fade easily. Despite his efforts to rebuild, his career never recaptured the momentum of his Moesha years. Today, Marcus T. Polk's story stands as a cautionary tale, a reminder of how fragile child stardom can be. From household favorite to Hollywood outsider, his journey reflects how quickly early promise can unravel when fame meets human flaws. Will Smith. Will Smith's journey through entertainment is nothing short of iconic. He burst onto the scene in the late 1980s as a charismatic rapper, blending humor and rhythm in a way that made him instantly likable. But it was his leap into acting with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, 1990 to 1996, that made him a global sensation. The show's mix of comedy, heart, and cultural relevance turned Smith into a household name and one of television's most beloved personalities. From there, he didn't just enter Hollywood, he dominated it. With box office smashes like Independence Day, 1996, Men in Black, 1997, and Ollie, 2001, which earned him his first Oscar nomination, Will Smith became one of the most bankable stars on the planet. His charm, versatility, and unstoppable work ethic made him Hollywood royalty. But in 2022, that royal image was suddenly shaken. During the live broadcast of the Academy Awards, Smith shocked the world by walking on stage and slapping comedian Chris Rock after a joke about his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. The moment exploded online within seconds, overshadowing what should have been his crowning achievement, winning the Oscar for King Richard, 2021. The fallout was swift and brutal. The Academy banned him from its events for 10 years, and several major film projects were delayed or scrapped. His next film, Emancipation 2022, arrived under the shadow of controversy and struggled to gain traction. Though Smith has publicly apologized multiple times, the incident remains a defining stain on his legacy, a reminder that even decades of success can be undone in a single impulsive moment. Yet despite it all, Will Smith endures. His talent, resilience, and undeniable impact on pop culture continue to keep him relevant. His story stands as both an inspiration and a warning, a modern Hollywood tale of triumph, downfall, and the fragile balance between fame and humanity. Jussie Smollett. Jussie Smollett's story is one of the most shocking rises and falls in modern Hollywood. He first captured America's heart as Jamal Lyon on Empire, 2015 to 2019, where his soulful performances and fearless portrayal of a young, gay black musician broke boundaries and earned him critical acclaim. Smollett wasn't just an actor, he was a symbol. For many, he represented progress, proof that a black, openly gay man could thrive in the spotlight and use his fame to push for equality and authentic representation. But everything changed in January 2019. Smollett reported to Chicago police that he had been the victim of a racist and homophobic attack, a story that drew an outpouring of support from celebrities, politicians, and fans worldwide. The nation rallied behind him until the investigation took a dark turn. Authorities later claimed the assault was a hoax, allegedly staged by Smollett himself, who they said hired two men to fake the attack. The revelation shocked Hollywood. In December 2021, Smollett was found guilty on 5 counts of disorderly conduct for filing false police reports. The following year, he was sentenced to 150 days in jail and 30 months of probation. The consequences were swift and brutal. His character was written off Empire, studios distanced themselves, and the public turned against him almost overnight. To this day, Smollett maintains his innocence and continues to appeal the verdict. Yet, his name remains synonymous with controversy, a cautionary tale about how quickly trust can evaporate and how a single act can transform a groundbreaking career into a symbol of deception and lost credibility. Katt Williams. Katt Williams burst onto the comedy scene in the early 2000s like a lightning bolt, sharp, loud, and impossible to ignore. With his slick suits, fiery delivery, and razor-edged wit, he made audiences laugh while holding up a mirror to race, politics, and culture. His breakout special, The Pimp Chronicles PT1, 2006, turned him into a cultural force, equal parts humorist and truth-teller. Hollywood took notice, casting him in Friday After Next, 2002, and giving him voice roles in hits like The Boondocks. For a while, it seemed Katt was destined to become one of comedy's lasting legends. But fame came with a price. Between 2006 and 2018, Williams' career was repeatedly derailed by legal battles and public outbursts. Arrests for assault and weapons charges, brawls with fans, and viral altercations with police began to eclipse his brilliance on stage. The headlines started focusing more on his chaos than his craft. Financial troubles followed. Lawsuits, fines, and lost opportunities slowly chipped away at what he had built. Still, Katt refused to disappear. His 2018 Emmy win for his guest role in Atlanta reminded the world that beneath the controversies was a performer of extraordinary depth and intelligence. Yet Hollywood, wary of his volatility, kept him at arm's length. Katt Williams' story is a paradox. A man whose genius could light up a room, but whose demons often burned down the house. He remains one of comedy's rawest talents, a cautionary legend whose brilliance and self-destruction are forever intertwined. Isaiah Washington. Isaiah Washington built his name long before television made him a household face. From Spike Lee's Crooklyn, 1994, and Clockers, 1995, to Romeo Must Die, 2000, he proved himself a commanding screen presence with both depth and charisma. But it was his turn as Dr. Preston Burke on Grey's Anatomy, 2005 to 2007, that catapulted him to stardom. As the brilliant yet demanding surgeon, Washington brought intensity and grace, helping shape one of ABC's biggest cultural phenomena. For a moment, he stood as a symbol of black excellence breaking through in primetime drama. Then came the controversy that changed everything. In 2006, reports surfaced that Washington had used a homophobic slur during an on-set altercation, an incident that sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Though he later apologized publicly, the damage was done. The backlash was fierce, and by 2007, ABC chose not to renew his contract. Just like that, one of the show's most compelling characters was gone, and Washington's meteoric rise came to a halt. He went on to work in independent films and television, and in 2014, briefly returned to Grey's Anatomy for a guest appearance, an emotional nod to what once was. Later, his role in The 100, 2014 to 2017, reminded audiences that his talent never faded. Yet, despite his efforts, his career never fully recovered its former glory. Isaiah Washington's story is both a triumph and a cautionary tale, a reminder that in Hollywood, talent can build you up, but a single moment, a single word, can tear it all down. Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most gifted and versatile actors, a man who could slip into any role and make it unforgettable. His breakout performance in Hustle and Flow, 2005, didn't just earn him an Academy Award nomination. It made him a symbol of raw talent and grit. A year earlier, his role in Crash 2004 had already proven his ability to capture both strength and vulnerability on screen. By the mid-2000s, Terrence Howard looked unstoppable, destined for long-term stardom. That promise reached its peak when he was cast as Colonel James Rhodey Rhodes in Marvel's Iron Man 2008. At the time, Howard was reportedly the highest-paid actor in the film, earning around $3.5 million, even more than Robert Downey Jr., but behind the scenes, tension began to build. Rumors swirled of heated arguments with producers and co-stars. Howard's intensity, often praised in his performances, reportedly became difficult off-camera. When Iron Man 2, 2010, went into production, Marvel made a shocking move, replacing him with Don Cheadle. Fans were stunned, and though the franchise soared to even greater success, Howard's Hollywood trajectory never fully recovered. Still, Howard refused to fade quietly. He reinvented himself on the small screen, starring as Lucius Lyon in Fox's hit drama Empire, 2015 to 2020. The role revived his career, introducing him to a new generation of fans who saw in him the same magnetism that had once captivated movie audiences. Yet even as fame returned, off-screen controversies, from lawsuits to public disputes, continued to shadow his success. Terrence Howard's story is a Hollywood cautionary tale, a reminder that talent alone isn't always enough. One wrong move, one clash behind the curtain, can change everything. And for Howard, the question still lingers. What might his career have become if his Marvel story had never ended so soon? Tom Lister Jr. Tom Lister Jr. was a man whose very presence commanded attention. Towering at 6 feet 5 inches with a frame built like a tank, he didn't just walk into a room, he owned it. On screen, he became unforgettable for his intimidating roles, most famously as the neighborhood bully Debo in Friday, 1995, and its sequel Next Friday, 2000. With that deep, booming voice and piercing stare, Lister had a way of making audiences both laugh and flinch at the same time. But off camera, the man behind those fearsome characters couldn't have been more different. Friends and co-workers described him as warm, hilarious, and generous, a gentle giant who loved to make people smile. Before Hollywood came calling, Lister even stepped into the wrestling ring, performing in the WWF as Zeus opposite Hulk Hogan, where he brought his trademark intensity to the world of professional wrestling. Despite steady work in film and television, Lister struggled with being typecast. Hollywood often saw him as the big, scary guy, rarely giving him the chance to show his full range as an actor. Still, those limited roles turned him into a cult icon. Fans loved him not just for the characters he played, but for the heart and humor he brought to every performance. Outside of acting, life wasn't always easy. In 2012, Lister faced legal troubles after being charged in a mortgage fraud case. He cooperated with investigators, took responsibility, and managed to avoid major prison time, another sign of his willingness to own up and move forward. Tragically, on December 10, 2020, the world lost Tiny Lister at the age of 62 due to heart disease, with complications from COVID-19 contributing to his passing. His death hit both Hollywood and the wrestling community hard. Though his career was often boxed into a single type of role, his towering legacy remains, forever remembered as the man you didn't want to mess with on screen, but everyone loved in real life. Gary Dorton. Gary Dorton rose to fame in the early 2000s as Warwick Brown, the smooth, sharp, and effortlessly cool investigator on CSI, Crime Scene Investigation. With his striking looks and calm confidence, he became one of the show's most beloved characters, helping CSI become a global television phenomenon. At the height of his success, Dorton was living the dream, part of a franchise watched by tens of millions each week, celebrated by fans, and respected by peers. But behind the Hollywood glow, his personal life was beginning to spiral. In 2008, the headlines changed from red carpets to mugshots. Police found Dorton asleep in his car, surrounded by cocaine, ecstasy, and prescription drugs. Though some charges were later reduced, the fallout was devastating. That same year, he exited CSI, and the actor who once seemed destined for lasting stardom suddenly vanished from the mainstream spotlight. What followed was a painful decade of struggle. Financial troubles, including bankruptcy in 2012, and a quiet fight to rebuild both his career and his life. Still, Gary refused to disappear completely. Through independent films, small TV appearances, and his passion for music, he kept creating, even if the bright lights of Hollywood no longer followed him. Fans who remembered his brilliance, as Warwick Brown saw in him, both a tragedy and a lesson. That fame can be fleeting, and one's choices can make or break a legacy. Today, Gary Dourdan remains a talented artist who's tasted both sides of success, the glory and the fall, and his story stands as a haunting reminder of how quickly it can all slip away. Flip Wilson. Flip Wilson wasn't just funny. He was a revolution in motion. In 1970, he made television history as the first African-American to host a successful network variety show, The Flip Wilson Show. With his razor-sharp wit, unforgettable characters like Geraldine Jones, and effortless ability to make people of all backgrounds laugh, Flip didn't just entertain. He broke barriers. Within 2 years, he had 2 Emmys and a Golden Globe under his belt, standing tall as one of the most influential comedians of his generation. For millions of viewers, Flip Wilson represented joy, progress, and the sound of change echoing through American living rooms. But behind the laughter, the grind took its toll. The weekly pressure to stay fresh and funny drained him, and by 1974, the magic that once electrified his show began to dim. Television tastes were shifting, and Flip found himself struggling to adapt. Offstage, personal demons, from financial missteps to substance abuse, deepened his decline. By the late 1970s, the man who once ruled primetime had quietly stepped out of the spotlight, leaving fans wondering how a star that bright could fade so fast. Though he made scattered appearances through the 80s and 90s, he never recaptured the glory of his early years. When he passed away from liver cancer on November 25, 1998, at just 64, America lost more than a comedian. It lost a pioneer. Flip Wilson's legacy still burns bright in the comedy world he helped shape. He was proof that laughter could shatter walls, open doors, and change the course of entertainment forever. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, once a beloved figure in American entertainment, rose to fame as the nation's favorite TV dad before his image came crashing down in one of Hollywood's most shocking downfalls. His journey began in the mid-1960s with I Spy, 1965 to 1968, where he broke barriers as the first African-American to star in a network drama, winning 3 consecutive Emmys and paving the way for generations of black actors. But it was The Cosby Show, 1984 to 1992, that immortalized him. The sitcom became a cultural phenomenon, redefining how black families were portrayed on television and pulling in more than 30 million viewers each week. At the height of his fame, Cosby wasn't just a TV star. He was a cultural force, an author, producer, philanthropist, and a symbol of progress and respectability. But behind the polished image, a darker truth was waiting to be exposed. In the 2010s, his carefully built legacy crumbled as decades-old allegations of sexual assault resurfaced. More than 60 women came forward, accusing him of acts dating back to the 1960s. The spark that reignited it all came in 2014 when comedian Hannibal Buress mentioned Cosby's alleged crimes during a stand-up routine, thrusting the story back into the national spotlight. By 2018, Cosby had been convicted of aggravated indecent assault and sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. A staggering fall for a man once revered as a moral pillar of American entertainment. Though his conviction was overturned in 2021 on procedural grounds, the damage was already done. His reputation was shattered, his legacy forever tainted. Today, Cosby lives as a free man, but remains exiled from the industry he once ruled. His story serves as one of Hollywood's most powerful cautionary tales, proof that no amount of fame, fortune, or goodwill can protect a person from the consequences of their own actions. Once celebrated as America's dad, Bill Cosby's name now stands as a stark reminder of how quickly admiration can turn into outrage and how a lifetime of triumphs can be undone by truth. O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson's story remains one of the most shocking tales of fame, fall, and infamy in American history. In the 1970s, he wasn't just a football player. He was a national hero. Known as the Juice, Simpson dominated the NFL, breaking records with the Buffalo Bills and becoming the first player ever to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season in 1973. His grace, speed, and charisma made him a household name. When he retired, Simpson effortlessly crossed into Hollywood, starring in hits like the Naked Gun series and becoming a smooth, camera-ready television personality. To many, he was the very image of success and charm. But in 1994, everything changed. The brutal murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman turned Simpson from idol to suspect. The nation was riveted as the trial of the century unfolded on live television. When a verdict of not guilty was read in 1995, it split America in two. Some saw justice served, others saw a grave miscarriage of it. Yet even after his acquittal, Simpson's troubles didn't end. In a 1997 civil trial, he was found liable for the deaths and ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages. More than a decade later, Simpson's life took another dark turn. In 2007, he was arrested in Las Vegas for armed robbery and kidnapping over sports memorabilia he claimed was his own. Convicted in 2008, he received a 33-year sentence but was released on parole after 9 years in 2017. By then, his name had become a symbol, not of glory, but of disgrace. On April 10, 2024, O.J. Simpson passed away at age 76 after a battle with cancer. Once a sports legend and Hollywood favorite, he died as a man forever overshadowed by scandal. A haunting reminder of how fast the American dream can turn into a nightmare. Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges rose to fame as a teenager, charming audiences as Willis Jackson on the beloved sitcom Different Strokes from 1978 to 1986. With his quick wit, natural charisma, and easy chemistry with co-stars Gary Coleman and Dana Plato, he became one of television's most recognizable young faces. The show wasn't just funny. It tackled real social issues from racism to class disparity, making it a cultural touchstone of its time. At his peak, Bridges looked destined for a long and successful career in Hollywood. But fame at a young age can be a dangerous thing. When Different Strokes ended, Bridges struggled to find his place in an industry that often forgets its child stars. Feeling lost and disillusioned, he turned to drugs, a path introduced by co-star Dana Plato, who was battling her own demons. Soon, crack cocaine and methamphetamine took hold of his life. By the late 80s, his bright future had been swallowed by addiction and crime. He became entangled in Los Angeles' underworld, dealing drugs just to survive. In 1988, Bridges' downward spiral reached a terrifying climax when he was charged with attempted murder after a drug dealer was shot. Though he was acquitted, the damage was devastating. Years of arrests, failed rehabs, and financial ruin followed. The young star America once adored had become a cautionary tale. Yet Todd Bridges' story didn't end there. In the 2000s, he found redemption. After getting sober, he began sharing his story publicly, warning others about the dangers of addiction and the false promises of fame. He made occasional TV appearances on talk shows, reality series, and dramas, but his greatest role became that of a survivor and advocate. Now in his 60s, Todd Bridges stands as a symbol of resilience. His journey reminds us that while stardom can fade, strength and redemption can shine brighter than any spotlight. Though Hollywood may have moved on, his survival and his courage to rebuild remain an inspiring victory in itself. Sherman Hemsley. Sherman Hemsley will forever be remembered as George Jefferson, the loud, proud, and unforgettable neighbor from All in the Family who later took center stage in The Jeffersons, 1975 to 1985. With his razor-sharp wit, lightning-fast delivery, and over-the-top charisma, Hemsley transformed George Jefferson into one of the most iconic characters in American television history. The Jeffersons ran for an incredible 11 seasons, becoming one of the longest-running sitcoms ever led by a black cast, and it solidified Hemsley's place as a true trailblazer in entertainment. But after the show ended in 1985, Hemsley faced a tough challenge, breaking free from the shadow of his most famous role. He went on to star in another sitcom, Men, 1986 to 1991, which found moderate success, yet audiences and casting directors alike continued to see him only as George Jefferson. The typecasting was relentless. As time went on, his appearances grew fewer and the bright lights of Hollywood began to fade. Adding to his struggles were financial woes. Despite years of fame, reports surfaced of unpaid taxes and mounting money problems, a cruel contrast to the lavish lifestyle of his on-screen persona. Though he still appeared in commercials, guest roles, and nostalgic reunions, the industry had largely moved on. On July 24, 2012, Sherman Hemsley passed away at the age of 74 due to complications from lung cancer. While he may never have escaped the shadow of George Jefferson, his influence can still be felt today. He opened doors for countless black actors who followed, proving that a sitcom character could be both funny and fearless, flawed yet beloved. Sherman Hemsley didn't just play George Jefferson. He defined an era of American television and left behind a legacy that continues to move on up. Nate Parker, the rise and fall of a promising visionary. Nate Parker once looked like the future of Black Hollywood. With powerful performances in The Great Debaters, 2007, and Red Tails, 2012, he carved a reputation as an actor with intelligence, depth, and passion. But his true moment came in 2016, when he wrote, directed, and starred in The Birth of a Nation, a bold retelling of Nat Turner's Rebellion. The film ignited a bidding war at Sundance, selling to Fox Searchlight for a record-breaking $17.5 million. Hollywood hailed Parker as the next great filmmaker, and many believe his work would redefine the conversation about race and resistance in America. But just as his star was about to soar, his past came crashing into the spotlight. Decades-old allegations of sexual assault from his college years resurfaced, reopening wounds that had never truly healed. Though Parker had been legally acquitted, the tragedy surrounding the case, including the woman's later death by suicide, cast a long, painful shadow. His public reactions, often seen as defensive and lacking empathy, only deepened the controversy. When The Birth of a Nation finally hit theaters, its box office numbers were a fraction of what had been expected. The project meant to cement his legacy instead became a cautionary tale. Since then, Parker has continued to create, writing, directing, and acting in smaller independent projects, but the trust of Hollywood has never returned. Nate Parker's story is one of brilliance and broken promise, a reminder that in Hollywood, success can vanish as quickly as it comes. Fame is fragile, and reputation even more so. Some careers fall because of personal demons, others collapse under the weight of scandal. But every story like Parker's forces us to ask the same haunting question. Can we truly separate the art from the artist, or are they forever bound together in history? At Hidden Black Legends, we uncover these untold stories, where talent meets tragedy and the spotlight reveals not just greatness, but humanity itself.